my destination indeed was the Boston Center. Not selected by me because I didn't know at that time, but that's kind of where I ended up, and that's in Nashua, New Hampshire. In any event, I ended up being engaged in the system itself, and I spent over 3 of my final 11 years engaged in procedures and other levels of management.
Tie into what happened that day and how our system reacted once
well,
we
on September
found out.
11th, yeah, on September 11th, I'm one of the few people who, within really quite a few hours of the whole event taking place, just simply knew that it was an inside job, and it wasn't because, okay, of you know, the visuals, the collapses, whatever, okay? I knew that it was an inside job, I think within about 4 or 5 o'clock that afternoon. And the reason that I knew is because when those aircraft did collide, and then we got the news information somewhere along the line, and they could kind of roughly say where the aircraft went, I said, well, okay, wait a minute, you know? If they knew where the aircraft were and they were talking to them at a certain time, that then normal protocol is to get fighter jet aircraft up to assist, okay? And I knew the edginess of the system at that time.
And you still know people that are working there that have pretty much said the same thing, right?
People there who confirmed to me that the FAA was not asleep, and that the controllers and the controller staff was not asleep and did the job. They followed their own protocols and actually, I think, created a few of their own in the emergency situation. So the bottom line is that the only way that those airliners could not have been intercepted is if there had been a major system failure, meaning electrical telecommunications. A backhoe had just dug up all of the cables and nobody could talk to anybody, whatever, which is a huge coincidence if it would happen.
But that didn't actually happen.
So as soon as I saw the information that the FAA or somebody had provided to the public, I said, well, that's enough information for me to know that all of the systems in the centers were working well. And so I said, all right, so therefore, there is no way, okay, that American 11, 175, 93, and then 77, there's just no way they would have been able to be successful at their mission if there were any type of standard, if all of the equipment were available.
Right.
It was
so obviously that day there must have been things in place, such as the war games and everything else that was non-standard.
I did not know at that time what was in place.
Right.
What I did know was that it was abnormal.
Hani Hanjour, the reported hijacker pilot of American 77. Let's take a look at his background. Well, he reported to have a commercial pilot certificate. In order to get a commercial pilot certificate, you have to pass 3 written tests in English with a score of 70 or better, pass 3 verbal tests with an FAA examiner, each lasting about 2 to 5 hours, and 3 flight tests with an FAA examiner, lasting about 1 to 2 hours each, all in English. Looking under the Federal Aviation Regulations, it's a requirement to be able to read, speak, and understand the English language for each one of these tests. However, one of the flight school managers, Peggy Chevret, was concerned that Hani Hanjour couldn't read, speak, or understand the English language well enough to obtain his certificates. When Peggy Chevret reported it to the FAA recommended to get a translator to help Hani through his training. That is illegal. Not to mention that Hani couldn't fly this. He was refused to rent a 172 because he couldn't control it. But yet, he was able to control this for over half an hour to strike the Pentagon, reportedly.
When the hijack protocol is put into motion, basically, what happens then as far as all the other all the other centers in the system?
As soon as notification is given, as soon as this is discovered to be, or decided to be that it was a hijacker, okay, what happens now in the protocol is that all sorts of people are informed about the situation. Just say Rummy's military, okay, and civilian FAA, and it goes right down to Herndon, and then the information is spread really all over the system.
So the whole system is notified.
The whole system. And this has been admitted to, the fact, I mean, Cleveland, Indianapolis, New York, everybody knew as soon as American 11 was declared a hijack. That's what we do.
Right. And then after 175 hit, of course, the whole world knew that the United States was under attack, and by that time, of course, all the centers would definitely know that.
My position is that as soon as that the controllers at the New York Center who were controlling 175, okay, indeed were already informed through the system, okay, that the hijackings had been recorded and the system needed to be put on alert.
Shortly after 9 o'clock, Indianapolis Center started notifying other agencies that American 77 was missing and had possibly crashed. At 9:08, Indianapolis Center contacted Air Force Search and Rescue at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia.
The Langley pilots told the commission they were never told they were pursuing hijacked planes. They thought they were pursuing the Russians and expected missiles coming in over the sea.
Let me just tell you, even if they had walkie-talkies in the men's rooms, okay, of all the air traffic facilities across this country, if this unusual and highly volatile event had occurred, there were enough experienced controllers to just spread this word like you couldn't believe. This is information that's like unbelievable. Did you hear this? And bang, it's across the system, and it was formally across the system, and it was acknowledged by the terrible tapes, or the insufficient tapes and testimony that was presented to the 9/11 Commission, that indeed the system was alerted. So everybody knew.
Everybody knew.
The system knew. The problem was because of the hijacking protocol that was now into place, and this is what happens. You get these hijackings, you get these certain circumstances that you're not particularly familiar with, you break out your books. When you break out your books,
you
start to read it, check, and then all of a sudden, and what that means is that the system now had to make some phone calls into, let's call it Rummy's Pentagon. And Rummy's Pentagon is the one that would then make the decision. Well, Rummy's Pentagon on American 11 didn't answer the phone. Night of 175 didn't answer the phone. I maintain they didn't answer the phone until they absolutely were embarrassed. And
shit. Give me a location. 46 are airborne now. That's the ones we take. Third aircraft hijack heading towards Washington.
The Langley pilots told the commission they were never told they were pursuing hijacked planes. They thought they were pursuing the Russians and expected missiles coming in over the sea.
Hi, Boston Center, Team U. We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys to... We need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise, not a test.
What? What was that? Not real world. Real world hijack. Cool.
My cell phone went off, and it was an associate of mine from Boston who asked, hey, John, are you watching this on TV? And I said, yeah, I am. And he said, that's American 11.
John Carr is the president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association.
I almost dropped my coffee. I said, my God, what are you talking about? And he said, that's American 11 that made that hole in the World Trade Center. And I said, you're kidding me. And he said, no, and there's another one that just turned south towards New York. We lost him, too. And so basically I was watching in horror, expecting to see what we all eventually saw.
At the Dulles Tower, Danielle O'Brien also saw the TV pictures from New York and headed back to her post.